I received the notification at 2:47 a.m. on what should have been the happiest night of my life. My architecture firm had just won the Riverside Plaza contract, worth $12 million, the biggest deal of my career. I'd texted my husband, Marcus, earlier that evening, telling him to meet me at the Emerald Room to celebrate. He never showed. The notification wasn't from Marcus. It was from my phone's cloud storage, alerting me that someone had uploaded a video from my shared album. I clicked it, thinking maybe Marcus had recorded a congratulations message. What I saw instead shattered everything. Marcus and his assistant, Vanessa Chen, were in what looked like a hotel room, champagne bottles scattered on the nightstand. They were laughing, faces flushed, completely unaware they'd accidentally hit the upload button on the video they were recording. The timestamp showed it was filmed 3 hours ago, right when he'd texted me saying he was stuck in traffic. I sat there in my car outside the Emerald Room, still wearing my victory dress, watching my husband kiss another woman while celebrating my achievement without me. The view count was already at 43. I realized with horror that the video had auto-shared to our family album, the one Marcus's mother had access to, along with my sister and 3 of our closest friends. My phone started buzzing. Screenshots from my sister. A crying emoji from Marcus's mom. Questions I couldn't answer because I was still frozen, watching the video loop for the 7th time. Then a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Miss Reeves, my name is Alexander Hunt. I believe we need to talk. I'll be at Greystone Park, North Bench, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Come alone. This concerns both our futures." I stared at the message. Something about the formality, the precision, made my chest tighten. I Googled the name with shaking fingers. Alexander Hunt, founder and CEO of Hunt Technologies. Net worth estimated at $340 million, recently in the news for his company's acquisition of 3 major tech startups, and according to a gossip column from 6 months ago, engaged to Vanessa Chen before she abruptly left him for a mystery man. That mystery man was my husband. I didn't sleep that night. By the time dawn broke over the city, I'd made my decision. I was going to meet Alexander Hunt. Greystone Park was nearly empty when I arrived at 9:55 a.m. The North Bench overlooked a small lake where morning fog still clung to the water's surface. A man sat there, perfectly still, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car payment. Even from a distance, I could see the sharp line of his jaw, the controlled way he held himself. He didn't turn when I approached, but he spoke. "You came early. That's good. It means you're serious." I sat down, keeping a careful distance between us. "You're Alexander Hunt. And you're Sophia Reeves, the architect who just landed the Riverside Plaza project. Congratulations. I read about it in the Times this morning." He finally looked at me, and I understood immediately why Vanessa had chosen my husband over this man. Alexander Hunt was intimidating. His eyes were the color of steel, analytical and unforgiving. "I also read that your husband, Marcus Reeves, is the CFO of Hartwell Dynamics. Impressive position for someone who's been systematically embezzling from the company for the past 14 months. I felt the air leave my lungs. What? $4.7 million, to be precise. Funneled through shell companies registered in the Cayman Islands. He's been using Vanessa as his accomplice. She has access to my company's financial systems, credentials she never returned when we ended our engagement. They've been planning something bigger, something that would have destroyed both our lives if we let it continue. My mind was racing. Why are you telling me this? Alexander's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Because I've spent 6 months investigating what went wrong. Why the woman I was going to marry suddenly left me for a married man she barely knew. It didn't make sense until I started following the money. They're not in love, Miss Reeves. They're partners in fraud. And they're planning to pin it all on us. On us? He pulled out a tablet, swiped through several documents, and handed it to me. I saw financial statements, email chains, bank transfers, all bearing my digital signature. My hands started shaking. "These are forgeries," I whispered. "I never authorized any of these transactions." "I know. Just like I never approved the wire transfers from Hunt Technologies that Vanessa executed using my credentials. They've been setting us up to take the fall while they disappear with the money. I estimate they're planning to execute their final move within the next 2 weeks, right after your Riverside Plaza contract generates its first payment installment." I couldn't breathe. Everything was crumbling. My career, my reputation, my entire life. Alexander continued, his voice calm and measured. I have a proposal for you, Miss Reeves. We stop them together. We expose everything they've done, and we make sure they face the consequences. But to do this effectively, we need to become untouchable. We need to present a united front that they can't break. What kind of united front? He turned to face me fully. Marry me. I actually laughed. It was a sharp, almost hysterical sound. You can't be serious. I'm always serious when it comes to business, and this is business. Think about it logically. If we're married, we have spousal privilege. They can't force us to testify against each other. We can pool our resources, our information, our legal teams. We present ourselves as a power couple who discovered their ex's crimes together. The narrative shifts from us being potential suspects to us being the victims who fought back. That's insane. That's strategic. Alexander's eyes never left mine. I've already retained the best forensic accountants in the country. I have private investigators tracking their every move. But I need you, Miss Reeves. I need your signature authority at Hartwell Dynamics. I need your access to Marcus's home office, his personal files, and most importantly, I need them to believe we're doing this for love, not revenge. If they suspect we're just building a case against them, they'll run. The money will disappear into untraceable accounts, and we'll spend years in litigation trying to clear our names. I stared at the lake, watching the fog slowly lift. This was crazy, marrying a stranger to catch my cheating husband. But as I sat there, feeling the weight of those forged documents in my hands, I realized I didn't have much choice. If I didn't do something drastic, I'd lose everything I'd worked for. If I agree to this, I said slowly, what exactly are you proposing? Alexander pulled out another document. This one, a contract. A marriage of convenience, lasting 6 months or until the case is resolved, whichever comes first. All financial arrangements kept completely separate. You maintain full ownership of your assets, I maintain mine. We live together for appearances, attend events together, play the role of the happy couple. In exchange, I provide full legal protection, cover all investigation costs, and ensure your career remains intact. When this is over and they're behind bars, we dissolve the marriage quietly. You walk away with your reputation restored and a settlement that compensates you for your time and emotional distress. How much? $2 million. I blinked. You're going to pay me $2 million to pretend to be your wife for 6 months? I'm paying you $2 million to help me execute the most important investigation of my life while maintaining both our public images. Consider it a consulting fee. He checked his watch. I can have the marriage license paperwork ready by noon. We can be legally married by 5 p.m. today. Marcus and Vanessa are having dinner at Sebastiano's tonight at 8. I suggest we make our first public appearance there. Nothing sends a message quite like showing up together at the same restaurant where they're celebrating their latest fraud. My head was spinning. This morning I'd woken up heartbroken and humiliated. Now a billionaire was proposing marriage and revenge in the same breath. I need to think about this. You have until 11 a.m. After that, I'll need to pursue other options. Alexander stood, buttoning his suit jacket with precise movements. I understand this is overwhelming. But understand this, Miss Reeves. Those 2 people have stolen from us, lied to us, and are actively working to destroy us. We can either let them win, or we can fight back. Your choice. He walked away, leaving me alone on the bench with the contract in my hands. I sat there for 20 minutes, reading every word of the agreement. It was airtight, professionally drafted, and oddly fair. Alexander Hunt wasn't trying to trap me. He was offering me a lifeline disguised as a business deal. At 10:47 a.m., I called the number he'd texted from. I'm in, I said when he answered. But I have conditions. Name them. I want access to all the investigation findings. No secrets. If we're doing this together, I need to know everything. Agreed. And when this is over, I want a written recommendation from you for future architectural projects. Your endorsement would be valuable. There was a pause, then something that might have been approval in his voice. I'll hire your firm for my next 3 commercial developments. That's approximately $40 million in contracts. I nearly dropped my phone. Why would you do that? Because I reward competence and courage. You've demonstrated both. Do we have a deal? We have a deal. Excellent. My driver will pick you up at noon. Bring identification and anything you need from your current residence. You'll be moving into the penthouse today." He hung up before I could respond. The next few hours passed in a blur. I went home, threw clothes and essentials into 2 suitcases, and left my wedding rings on the kitchen counter with a note for Marcus. "I know everything. My lawyer will be in touch." The driver arrived exactly at noon in a black Mercedes that probably cost more than my yearly salary. We drove to the courthouse, where Alexander was waiting with his attorney and a notary. The ceremony took 8 minutes. We signed papers, exchanged simple platinum bands that Alexander had somehow procured in the past 2 hours, and were pronounced husband and wife by a judge who looked bored with the whole proceeding. "Congratulations," Alexander said as we walked out. "We're now legally married. How does it feel?" "Surreal," I admitted. "I woke up this morning single and heartbroken. Now I'm married to a billionaire I met 3 hours ago. Life moves fast when you're motivated." He opened the car door for me. "The penthouse is on 5th Avenue, 42nd floor. I've had a room prepared for you. We'll maintain separate bedrooms for privacy. My housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, no relation to Vanessa, will help you settle in. We have 2 hours before we need to prepare for dinner." The penthouse was exactly what I expected and nothing I was prepared for. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than most people's houses, and an art collection that belonged in a museum. My room was actually a suite larger than my old apartment, complete with a walk-in closet and marble bathroom. Mrs. Chen, a kind-faced woman in her 60s, had already unpacked my meager belongings and laid out several designer dresses on the bed. "Mr. Hunt thought you might need options for tonight," she explained. "He wasn't sure of your style, so he had his personal shopper select a variety." I stared at the dresses, each one probably worth thousands of dollars. "This is too much." "Mr. Hunt is very thorough," Mrs. Chen said with a small smile. "He believes in proper preparation." I chose a deep emerald dress that hugged my figure and made me feel powerful. When I emerged from my suite at 7:30, Alexander was waiting in the living room, reviewing documents on his tablet. He looked up, and for the first time since we'd met, his expression shifted slightly. "That dress is perfect," he said. "You look like someone who belongs in my world." "I am someone who belongs in your world," I corrected. "I earned my place in it long before I met you." Something that might have been respect flickered across his face. "Good. Remember that feeling tonight. We're going to walk into that restaurant as equals, as partners. They need to see that we're not broken. We're stronger than they ever imagined." Sebastiano's was the kind of restaurant where reservations required 3 months' notice and a connection to someone important. Alexander apparently was important enough that they'd found us a table with 2 hours' notice, positioned perfectly to see the entire dining room. We walked in at exactly 8:07 p.m., fashionably late but not dramatically so. The host greeted Alexander by name, and I felt every eye in the restaurant turn toward us. And there, at a corner table, were Marcus and Vanessa. They hadn't seen us yet. Marcus was laughing at something Vanessa said, his hand covering hers on the table. She was wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, her hair styled in an elegant updo. They looked happy, comfortable, like they'd been together for years instead of months. "Ready?" Alexander murmured, his hand settling on the small of my back. "Ready," I confirmed. We walked past their table, slowly enough to be noticed but not so slow it seemed intentional. I saw the exact moment Marcus registered my presence. His face went white, then red, his hand jerking away from Vanessa's. Vanessa turned, her eyes widening when she saw Alexander. We didn't stop. We continued to our table, where Alexander pulled out my chair with practiced courtesy, then sat across from me, positioning himself so he had a clear view of their reaction. "They're panicking," he said quietly, picking up his wine menu. Marcus just knocked over his water glass. Vanessa is texting someone frantically, probably trying to figure out how we know each other. I forced myself to breathe normally, to smile like we were having a pleasant conversation. What now? Now we enjoy our dinner. Let them wonder. Let them worry. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Our server arrived, and Alexander ordered wine with the casual confidence of someone who'd been doing this his entire life. I tried to focus on the menu, but my attention kept drifting to the corner table where my husband sat with his mistress, both of them clearly spiraling. Halfway through our first course, Marcus appeared at our table. "Sophia," he said, his voice strained. "What are you doing here?" I looked up at him. This man I'd loved for 5 years. This man I'd built a life with. I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Having dinner with my husband. Marcus's face went slack. "You're what?" Alexander stood, extending his hand with perfect politeness. "Alexander Hunt. Sophia and I were married this afternoon. I don't believe we've met. Though I've certainly heard a great deal about you, Mr. Reeves." The color drained from Marcus's face. "You can't be serious." "The marriage license is public record," I said calmly. "Filed at 3:42 p.m. today. You're welcome to verify it." Vanessa had joined us now, her face carefully composed but her hands shaking slightly. "Alex," she said softly, "this is unexpected." "Is it, though?" Alexander's voice was pleasant, conversational. "You left me 6 months ago with barely an explanation. Sophia's husband has been missing from her life for months while conducting an affair. It seems we both found ourselves suddenly single and, as it turns out, we have quite a bit in common. Sometimes fate works in mysterious ways." I could see Marcus's mind working, trying to figure out what we knew, what we were planning. "Sophia, we need to talk. Privately." "I don't think that's appropriate," Alexander said before I could respond. "My wife and I are having a private dinner. Perhaps you should return to your companion." The word wife seemed to physically hit Marcus. He opened his mouth, closed it, then turned and walked back to his table without another word. Alexander sat back down, cutting into his steak with precise movements. That went well. He looked like he was going to pass out. Good. Let him spend the night wondering what we're planning. Fear makes people careless, and we need him to make mistakes. We finished our dinner while Marcus and Vanessa left hastily, barely 20 minutes after our confrontation. As we walked out of the restaurant, Alexander's hand found mine, and for the cameras that were undoubtedly watching, we looked like a couple deeply in love. In the car on the way back to the penthouse, Alexander pulled out his tablet. "My investigators have been busy. Marcus met with an offshore banking representative yesterday. They're planning to move the money next Friday, right after your Riverside contract makes its first deposit." "How do you know all this?" "I have resources that most people can't access. Let's just say I have friends in useful places." He showed me a series of photographs. Marcus entering a building, meeting with a man in an expensive suit, exchanging documents. "We have 6 days to gather enough evidence to not only stop the transfer but to ensure criminal charges stick. Are you ready for this?" I thought about the video of Marcus with Vanessa, about the forged documents with my signature, about everything I stood to lose if I didn't fight back. "I'm ready." "What do you need me to do?" "Tomorrow, you're going to call Marcus. Tell him you want to talk, that you're confused about what happened with Alexander, that maybe it was a mistake. Make him believe you're vulnerable, uncertain. He'll try to manipulate you, to convince you that what you saw wasn't real, that he loves you. Play along, get him to meet you at the house. And then you're going to ask him about the Riverside contract, about the finances at Hartwell Dynamics. Act concerned, like you've noticed some irregularities. Watch how he reacts. We need him to either confess something we can use or to lie in a way that contradicts the evidence we're building. Either way, we win." I nodded slowly. "I can do that." "I know you can." Alexander's eyes met mine. "You're stronger than you think, Sophia. Stronger than Marcus ever deserved." That night, lying in my suite in Alexander's penthouse, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how my life had become a strategic game of chess. But as I thought about the plan, about the evidence, about the look on Marcus's face when I'd called Alexander my husband, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. And I was just getting started.